a suit in front of his staircase.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
Hey, old man, you got to turn the mic on, Dad.
It's the phrase of 2020. You're on mute.
Yep.
Right? Totally. Yeah. All right. So you guys are going to go head to head here and duke it out, right?
So I don't know, Holly, if you knew there's a new joke going around Canada. Have you heard it yet?
No, what?
Bruce Linton walks underneath his porch and sees a ladder, a wheelbarrow, and $150 million. And he's the only guy that says, oh, what am I going to do with that ladder and wheelbarrow? Bruce, tell us about Ruckify, because this crew may not know what
We're gonna mute ourselves and take our video off so you can be nice and irreverent. I don't have to be a part of it and have fun.
So tell the world that doesn't know your non-cannabis side, what is Ruckify and what are you up to?
So that ladder and wheelbarrow are under the porch because you use both of them once a year. And then you own them and store them. And the sad part about that is both of those are made out of stuff we dig out of the earth. We put a lot of energy into them, and we probably ship the raw materials over to China. They make it into a wheelbarrow or a ladder. They ship it back wrapped in plastic and styrofoam. It goes to Home Depot. You buy it, use it, and store it. Ruckify's point is, why don't you monetize it? It's good for your income, and it's good for the earth. So the idea is, and it's working very well, is put all these objects up on Ruckify and set a price, and people, it's peer-to-peer lending, renting. And so it's been just taking off. You'd say, well, how the heck can it take off during COVID, man? We're not even supposed to like interact. And so one of the things we did is when COVID hit, we were preparing to launch in Austin. And after about a week of COVID, we said, I don't think we can launch. So we came back and we had about 2 days where we felt extremely sad for ourselves. Oh, woe are we. We are screwed. And then we said, how do we make ourselves not screwed? And what struck us is everybody was talking about buying fitness equipment because all the gyms were closed. And so our thought was, if you can't go to the gym, why can't the gym come to you? Why can't we Ruckify all the weights, treadmills, cycles? So what we did is, because Ruckify insures everything, delivers everything, and has a daily, weekly, monthly charge rate, you put it in, we can actually conduct it. And we keep about 10% of the transaction. We Ruckified gyms out from Austin, Texas to Ottawa. And that started getting us a lot of people talking about us. And then we said, well, how can we be helpful to people? Because everybody's going to have to do this homeschooling stuff. And if you're not sort of well off, sometimes the only way that you get access to the internet is that mom's cell phone. Well, what if mom's got 3 kids in an apartment and they're all supposed to be doing homeschool with this on the web stuff? So we started taking anything that was in your desk drawer, an old iPad, whatever, and connecting it without charging and making any money, zero money to us, but connecting it between your iPad, old one in the desk drawer, and mom on the 14th floor with the 3 kids that needs it. And we did that all over the place, and we started getting traction. So Ruckify is a really, I think it's a thoughtful way to monetize. We have had one lady whose husband's business shut down in COVID. She took all the dumb shit that he bought, as she phrased it, and had in the garage. And she's been Ruckifying it. Over the last 60 days, she made over $10,000 Ruckifying it.
Oh.
Yeah. So you know what that does? Makes him losing his job not so bad. And she's no longer pissed off that he spent all the prior money buying stuff to put in the garage, everything from paddle boards to rotor tillers.
Gotcha. Now this cannabis crowd, obviously Canopy Growth, part of your history, and an article I wrote said, Bruce Linton built a cannabis empire, but he made one mistake, and that was the communication part of what you told me. That's not true, Curt. Looking back on it now that you're 40 pounds lighter and literally half the man you used to be, what was your biggest mistake at Canopy, looking back at this point of your life?
Well, I made several. You and I have talked often about this, so I made several. At the beginning, the first mistakes I made was that no one thought it was a good idea. And so the qualifying criteria for the first few people that joined was they would. Imagine going to a job interview. All you have to do is say yes, and you have the job. And so I didn't necessarily start off with all the best blend. And then as we went down the path, I would say, we made a couple of mistakes about how do we sort of expand one country or another. But when it came to the end, if someone wants to give you $4 billion US for about 27% of a 6-year-old company, but the only final criteria is that you have to agree they control the board, I still look at it and think that if I wanted to keep my job more than I wanted that cash in the company, then I probably was not well suited for my job. And so I do feel like very badly in these times when they're laying people off. I would have had to lay people off. The world didn't turn out the way everything you think it's going to be. But I would sooner be there to do that than to have not been there to do that.
Gotcha. And, you know, we had an article go up today talking about, you know, people are really focusing on legalization as either a big threat or a big plus. And Matthew talked about it. I see this new delivery license with buying at wholesale, selling at retail as the biggest threat to the establishment. How engaged do you see this, and where are you at on the threats and how you have to change your business if these licenses go, you know, national?
So what starts to happen, right, is you have to have production initially so that you can actually supply yourself. But then over time, it's sort of like a triangle, right? And production's at the bottom, and you build your extraction, your product making, and then you have your retail and brands. But over time, the triangle kind of like it turns upside down, right? It goes like, and all you have at the bottom are your points of sale, your brands, and your quality. And you almost go to an asset light mode where that production asset isn't really an asset. It's almost like a net neutral or a liability. And so part of the reason I like Gage is they've done a terrific job on focusing on even the stuff they don't produce themselves. It's how you make sure that it's quality, how you package it, how you have a point of sale environment that makes people come in. And you see that in their sales numbers, man. Their average basket size is like almost $200. And it is like a constant busy environment. It's because people prefer the quality of the product and the way it's presented. So it means that you have to have great quality, but it means that you could actually shift where you get your assets or your inputs from. If I looked at Canada now and I look at a lot of these other places, the asset light mode makes total sense to me. Like if you're in Canada now, what you want to buy is about a 20,000 square foot facility where you process other people's products into finished goods that people line up to buy.
Do you think the moat that's being given to these social equity and economic and power candidates, 3-year exclusive, and the margin flexibility and power to buy at such a low price and sell at much higher price, that's not a threat to brick and mortar?
It is. And, you know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of things we got to fix up. And so like if there's a little bit extra given up in one corner so that the wrongs that exist are a bit more neutralized, I can live with it. You know, and how many times have we talked where I still do what you want in that, but changing the color or sex of one rich person versus making it so that equity is broadly distributed through every company, that everybody gets profit sharing or margin sort of access through, call it options. I think that's still the most meaningful thing. And I don't know why some states haven't said already that if you get a license and you get I'll call it an advantage granted to you, you have to cascade that advantage into your workforce. And you have to make it meaningful. And they could put proportional ratios of the top person can't take 90% of this. They can't have more than 10 times the equity grant that the bottom person has. Now they may have founder shares and stuff. If you have founder shares, that's great. Like I took 0 options for the first, I think 3 or 4 years when we started Canopy. I wouldn't take any. He said, whoa, what's wrong with you? Well, the money made me a bit more money, but what I did is I put them in everybody's hands. And the day I was fired, there were over 200 people who were millionaires for showing up for work. And I can tell you that makes a more meaningful redistribution and equity impact than changing solely the leader.
Yeah, and to be clear, we mentioned in that article, we're not saying that the licensees who are getting these aren't historically should have them or through economics. We're just saying, what does this type of license do to the structure? You mentioned it, branding, and there's a lot of branding on this particular Cannabis 10X show. I get nervous. You and I disagree on this. I think it's a commodity. I think branding's only going to carry you so far. Is this a sign of margin compression where people are now really hitting branding because the margins are coming down? It's a flower. How do you fight that if you're engaged?
Hi, Mike. So I think we kind of agree in some ways. If you put a unique name on something, but in no other way it's differentiated, you do have a marginal benefit. Like people might remember the name and the other one they might forget, but it's marginal. But if what you do is you put a dumb name, like a stupid name, on something that's fundamentally amazing and differentiated, it actually makes people come back. Like Google is not a particularly super great brand name. It actually, no one ever heard the word Google before they were told, use Google, you can find more things on the web. But because the underlying capability of Google was super amazing relative to everyone else, you use Google. And so if you think about it in cannabis, if all you're trying to do is differentiate it on a commodity using a brand, you have a marginal advantage. But if what you try to do is create materially better products, which is, so how do we do that? Sometimes it's science, right? It's how do we fractionate it so that it's actually smaller than nano and has a really rapid, high bioavailability. Maybe it's how you manage the taste. Like some of the things I've been seeing in the hemp protein space, there's super smart ways to actually make it so it tastes amazing as a hemp protein, not kind of weedy, like amazing. And so that I think is worth having a brand.
You led me right into the next question. I know we're running out of time, but you have $150 million. You're trying to make hemp in the spotlight, at least in North America. How's it going? What are you looking at?
So it's going fast. We got that done mid-May. We're into September. We laid out about 224 categories where we think hemp can dramatically impact the existing, whether it's hydrocarbons or other fibers. And we have really good stuff in two of the portfolio areas. One's food to farm, and we have another which is sustainable industrial. I like what we see. Say we're going to be an unusual SPAC, the smart SPACs. These are what smart SPACs do. So a SPAC's a special purpose acquisition company. You got to use 80% of the value minimum. What they'll typically do is say to an 800 or 900 or $1 billion company, would you like to be public and you can have my 150 million bucks? And then the founders of that make some value. But I don't think that's very interesting because then you don't have anything to do. So what we're doing is instead of trying to give our 150 million to somebody who wants to get public, what we're trying to do is use 150 million to buy 4, 5, 6 things, put them together and build $1 billion company. And that strikes me as, you could have a lot of organic growth. You could become really disruptive to anything from hydrocarbons to cotton. And so I really like how it's going. I really like the team. It's the only weird part is doing due diligence where it's like, could you hold your Zoom camera up so I can see the machine better, right? Because you can't go anywhere. Suppose the plant's in Italy. Oh, well, I don't know. There was a little while going to Italy wasn't, suggested to be the best idea, and Netherlands and places. So due diligence is more like this interaction than it is actually going to see things.
And before they cut us off, hemp is obviously thrown out there as it's going to be cars, buildings, hydrocarbons, cotton. What is most exciting about hemp to you with that kind of checkbook? What do you really get excited when you see hemp for fill in the blank?
Well, you got to always read the room. And the room right now is saying, COVID, I want shorter supply chains and I want more sustainable, more blue skies. And so what's exciting now is because of COVID, I think people are very much more tuned into the idea that can we actually make major parts of our car without having to go to other countries to get the inputs? Can we actually put really sustainable food on our table that tastes great and becomes the third rotational crop in America? And we have that. So what's most exciting to me? The fact that I think the US market is screaming for things produced in America, which have a two-stop supply chain. Farmer's field, our process conversion into the factory to become the good, and it's at your house, you're wearing it, driving it, eating it. And so I think COVID has been like a super duper wake up call to why do we have these crazy long supply chains that depend on foreign jurisdictions?
All right, so if you have a wheelbarrow, a ladder, or you're growing hemp, call Bruce.
Sure.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Great, guys. Yeah. Glad to hear your updates, Bruce. Sounds like you're doing really well.
Oh, you got to keep busy. Otherwise, idle hands kind of thing can happen for sure with me.
Oh,
I don't want to know. That's it. We're done. All right. Next.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Round 3. I think we are going to start with, what do we call this one?
No.
No, what do we call the round?
We have immortality.
Oh, yeah. I like that. All right, John Oram, come on.
You on there, John? Nug is a great vertically integrated company out in California in retail.
I see him.
Come on, tell us about your dispensaries and your expansion plans. Very impressive.
There we go. Can you hear me and see the screen?
We can hear you and see the screen. Doing good.
Okay, great. Oh, okay, here we go. Thank you for the opportunity here. I'm here to talk about my company, Nug. We are an award-winning, vertically integrated California cannabis company, and we are ready for growth. A lot of people, next button. People ask me often, why California? It's a big headache. There's a lot of taxes and just a lot of challenges operating in this environment. But if you look in the bottom right-hand corner here, forget about the other numbers for now, but bottom right-hand corner, California represents about a $12 billion annual opportunity in the cannabis market. So that's a huge opportunity. So about NUG, we are a vertically integrated cannabis company. We are based in Oakland, California. Vertically integrated, you've heard that term quite a bit today. It certainly has its benefits and its challenges. For us, vertical integration looks like this. We operate fairly large indoor and outdoor cultivation. Our flowered products are sold as flowers and also as pre-rolled joints, and they quite often end up in the top 10, even the top 5 best-selling products in California. We operate a large hydrocarbon extraction facility, has the ability to process over 1,500 pounds of biomass in an 8-hour shift. Those products are largely live resin products, selling usually in the top 5 across the state. We also operate manufacturing of edible goods, where we have a line of chocolate,